Mercy and Michael's love story is quite the unique one. Mercy grew up in a middle-class family in Abuja. She was well educated, had a lot of opportunities growing up, but most importantly, she is a very, very smart woman. And so, of course, she used her intelligence to her advantage. All these years later, Mercy finds herself in the profession of law. To be more specific, she's a barrister. So she is really just that black girl magic. She is all of that. And then, of course, you've got Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael is a Frenchman. He is born and raised in Paris, and he's a businessman. His line of work is property development, that type of stuff. And so he found himself in Abuja one particular year, working on an estate. Yeah, his company are at that point where they're working on some amazing estate in Abuja, and Michael is at the forefront. So through all of this, him and Mercy eventually meet. And when they meet, their chemistry was there. They both couldn't take their eyes off each other. And, just that one day of Michael up going to Mercy and saying, can we go on a date, turned into many, many dates, which turned into many beautiful memories, many beautiful moments. And then, of course, then came marriage. So here Mercy and Michael are married, living this very beautiful life together. Financially, they're both contributing to this relationship. It's teamwork. It's that teamwork. And they're happy. They're more than comfortable. They're happy. They are emotionally and physically very much there for each other. But that's not where this story begins. Not really. I mean, yes, that's kind of what led us to this point. This story begins in Dr. Adeola Ikeji's therapy room. She's a therapist. She's their therapist. And Mercy and Michael have been coming to her for 6 months, weekly. Dr. Ikeji looks up at them and she says, Mercy, Michael, you guys have been coming to me for 6 months, weekly. And I know you guys love each other. If there's one thing I am clear and sure about is how much you guys love each other. But now we're hitting a wall. We've hit this block. Where to from here? Where to from here? Michael says, oh, you tell us, you're the therapist. And she says, well, I have told you, Michael. I've told you both that it's one of two things. It's either the trust is rebuilt or you guys have to go your separate way. And I would hate to see that happen because as I've said, I can tell you guys love each other with all of your hearts, but this is not healthy. This whole thing is not healthy. You guys are becoming more and more unhappy. How do we fix that? Because I don't know what to say anymore. Michael very quickly interrupts her and he says, I've been trying to tell her that. I've been telling Mercy that for a very long time, that we need to fix this. We need to rebuild the trust. And Dr. Ikeji says, no, but hold on, Michael, hold on. I'm sure if it was easy as rebuilding the trust, you guys would have done it by now. And I don't for a second think that Mercy doesn't want for the trust to be rebuilt. But you have to understand that rebuilding this trust requires both of your participation. One of the exercises I put forward was that you guys go on more date nights. And Mercy tells me that hasn't really been happening. And Michael very quickly says to her, yeah, I work. I've been busy. Now, Dr. Ikeji knows, at this point, she knows their personalities. She knows their vibes. And the last thing she wants to do is make Michael feel attacked because she also knows him. And she knows that he becomes defensive. He shuts down. He doesn't want to talk anymore. And she knows that he's very sensitive that way. So she leaves the conversation there. She leaves it there. She tables that part of the conversation and she says, Mercy, is there anything you would like to add at this point? And Mercy takes a deep breath and she says, I mean, what do I say? I love my husband. I know that much. I love Michael, but I'm tired, doctor. I'm very, very tired. Hearing Michael say this is it's a pain in his heart. And he so badly doesn't want this conversation or this vibe to even be entertained because he loves his wife. He does not want this to even be a thing. So he says to her, but babe, I love you too. You know that. I love you very much. And she says to him, but that is what I'm struggling to wrap my mind around. If you love me so much, how did this happen? We were happy. We were emotionally available to each other. Physically, we were in a good space. Our intimacy was there. If you loved me so much, why were you so willing to give that away? Why were you so willing to give that up for another woman? For Mercy, this feels so much more deep. This cuts to the bone because Mercy was clear that she wasn't trying to get physical with any man who wasn't her husband. And so she held off until she got married. Michael happened to be the man she married. So this for her is a betrayal on another level. Like, I wouldn't dream of giving my body, my spirit, and my intimacy to anybody else. So how can you do that? How can you look at me and say you love me, but have done that? How could you do that? And so now Mercy begins to explain the story from her perspective. And she says, you know, Michael and I were very happy. At least I thought that's what it was. We were very happy. We both work. We have amazing jobs. We're able to contribute to this household together. There's no stress financially. We're in a good place. We've just bought the house of our dreams. His company's working on this amazing property development. They're building one of the best estates in Abuja. We've got it all. We have got it all. This is how the story went. On one particular morning, Michael kissed Mercy goodbye and told her, baby, I'm coming back. I'll be back in a couple of days. She knew he had to go to Paris for work. Now remember, he was born and raised in Paris. And because of his line of work, it took him as a property developer, it took him to Abuja. And he stayed there with Mercy because his contract allowed for that. And it would be much easier anyway to oversee the project from Abuja. But that's not where all his work is. So he has to travel back and forth. So he kisses her goodbye one morning and he leaves, flies out to Paris. She goes to work. Mercy goes to work as she usually does, very crazy hours at the office, does what she needs to do, and she eventually comes home. Later on that evening, she decides, you know what, let me make myself something to eat. It's just me, so I can make something cute, whip up a little, pot of pasta. I'm good, and a glass of wine. And so while she's cooking, she's got her laptop on the counter. She's going through her laptop. She's checking her emails. She's responding. She's scheduling certain things. She's on the phone. She's doing what she needs to do as she's cooking. Eventually, the pasta is ready to eat, and she sits down, pours herself a glass of wine, has got her laptop in front of her, and is reading messages. Eventually, she's just like, no, let me just exit and close some of these tabs at the top. And she notices, lo and behold, that Michael had been using her laptop, which was a regular thing. He at times would forget his at the office, so he would use hers. And she noticed that he forgot to close one of the tabs. And so she opened the tab, and it happened to be in his email. And so she's just kind of scrolling through, I guess one could argue deliberately, but the information is there. So she's looking through it, doesn't see anything suspicious. But before she exits, she just has this gut instinct that tells her, go to his trash bin. And so she does. And she goes there and she's scrolling. She's just like, oh, my husband is very boring. There's nothing here that really catches my attention, until she sees a message with the subject box, What if I hadn't left? And so she thinks, what is this about? And she opens it. And there it is, a message from his ex, Marie. And so she's reading these emails. And the more she reads and reads and reads, she realizes that Marie and Michael have been talking for quite a while. Not only have they been talking, the conversation is becoming increasingly inappropriate. Marie is expressing to Michael how much she regrets the relationship ending, how much she regrets them going their separate ways, and how it's been so difficult for her because she doesn't really have that closure. She feels as though, the breakup wasn't official, so to speak. That they kind of just drifted apart, doing their own things, but it wasn't that the love ended or that there was a particular fight that caused this terrible breakup. And so she's expressing that to him. And the more she reads, the more she realizes, hold on, when he was in Paris a couple of months ago, he met up with her. So already that just feels very uncomfortable. And in her mind, she's thinking, but why didn't my husband tell me this? Why didn't he tell me that at some point he saw his ex in Paris? And she thinks to herself, okay, she keeps on reading and reading and reading. She picks up that not only did he see her the second last time he was in Paris, again when he went there, he saw her. But now this conversation is taking on a very different tone. The conversation before felt as if these were two exes who emotionally were still very drawn to each other. But now it's taken on a completely different tone. It's clear something physical here has happened. Something has definitely happened. A boundary has been crossed. And she's very upset at this point. And she's reading it and she's seeing how not too long after they got physical, having slept together, he very quickly deleted her number and blocked her number. Well, according to the emails, according to what Marie was saying. Marie was begging Michael to reconsider, begging him to please not shut her out this way, begging him and saying, we once upon a time, we loved each other. Why would you treat me this way? I would never hurt you this way. And all of this. Mercy's heart drops to her stomach. It drops. There it is, this perfect narrative, this perfect life that she so believed they had, this happy life, maybe not perfect, but this very happy life she believed they had is just not it anymore. And she does what I think in many ways hurt her even more. She continues to read and pull up as many emails as she can see. Eventually, there's nothing else to read. She picks up the phone. She's visibly upset and she's shaking. She cries. There Michael is in Paris on the other end of the phone. Hey, baby, how are you? Is everything okay? And she's crying and he says, what has happened? Talk to me, Mercy. What happened? What's wrong? And she says, so you cheated on me with Marie. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? And she's like, do not play dumb with me. I read the emails. I read every single one of the emails. You cheated on me. You're not coming back home. Do you understand me? You're not welcome back in this house. And she hangs up. Now, what was supposed to be a week-long trip in Paris was cut very short. Michael jumped on a plane and made sure he was back in Abuja the following evening. When he got there, he tried his best to explain things to Mercy. She didn't want to hear a thing. As she continues to explain, Michael interrupts her and he says, baby, that's not how it went. That's not how it went. We've been through this before. We've been over it. And then she says, okay, fine. So how did it go then? How did it go? What am I leaving out? How did it go? You tell us. How did it go? At this point, Dr. Ikeji is looking at them like, this is exactly what I didn't want for to happen. But she takes a step back and she lets them express themselves again. He says, yes, financially, everything was great. We live in this beautiful home. Work-wise, we're both doing well. But 100% happy? No, not so much. And then he begins to explain his side of the story. He talks about how, let's be clear, let's just put it out there. He is a white man living in Abuja. A white European man living in Abuja. And so he begins to explain his part of it all. He says, here I come to Abuja, not expecting to find anybody, not anything. I'm coming here solely for work. And then I meet this beautiful, strong black woman and I fall in love with her. And we end up getting married. And I do not resent that. What I find very difficult is, here she is, this very powerful woman, which I absolutely respect and I love because I see how hard she works. But her profession, her line of work, requires her to be self-sufficient. It requires her to be on the ball all the time. But at home, she's not a barrister. She's my wife. And she never separates the two. She never separates the two. She doesn't need me. She doesn't need me. And Mercy looks at him and says, what? So now there's a problem because you have a problem because I'm not some damsel in distress. Is that what this is about? And he says, no, Mercy, listen to what I'm saying. I married you because I loved you. I love you. Part of us being married means that I want to be here for you as a husband. I want to make sure that you are well taken care of. He looks at Dr. Ikeji and he says, if there's a problem in the house, whether a light needs to be fixed or something is broken, she never comes to me. If a light needs to be fixed, she'll pull a ladder up and she'll do it herself. If there's something she can't do, she's immediately on the phone calling for assistance. And then let's speak about her family and her friends. Do I think they respect our union? Yes, because they have to. But I'm not oblivious to the fact that they are very aware of how different we are, even culturally. And they don't try and make it any easier or any better. When I'm in their space, they very much talk above my head, like everything is about them and their situation and their family and this, that, and the other. Sometimes I sit there and I listen to them talk in their language and there's just no sense of inclusion. I don't feel wanted. I'm not making this up. I don't feel wanted in this dynamic. Mercy's sitting there listening to him like, why didn't you ever say this? Like, why is this a problem now? But she's also very frustrated, like, hold on, you're not going to use this as your way of explaining why you would cheat. So she's listening to her husband, but she's brewing. Inside, she is like, oh, hell no, this man is not going to use this as an excuse as to why he cheated on me. And so she continues to listen. Dr. Keji sees her. She sees that Mercy is building and she just does this to Mercy, like, just wait, let him have his turn to explain. And he says, so I woke up one morning, left, he went to Paris. He got to Paris. This was the second last time he was there. He got to Paris. He did business as usual. He happened to run into Marie, who is still based in Paris. He said that they exchanged contact information. They started to talk more. And he said the more they started to talk, the more she made him feel wanted and needed and included. And it was just a very familiar, loving, warm, welcome feeling. And so instead of cutting it off when he was supposed to have cut it off, he continued to entertain it. And unfortunately, feelings started to brew. There was just this, again, familiar feeling, so to speak, that he was not willing to let go of. And then the second last time, because remember, the last time he was in Paris was the time she called him to tell him, don't come home. So the second last time he was in Paris, he decided to reach out to Marie and they had lunch together. And that lunch turned into, It started at that cafe where their legs accidentally touched each other and they just didn't move it. And then they had a bottle of wine and then a second one. And before they knew it, they were kissing and they slept together. But Michael kept on re-emphasizing that after it happened, he felt so terrible. He felt absolutely terrible about the whole thing. He broke it off with her immediately. He hadn't spoken to her. He blocked her phone number. He blocked her. He tried to block her emails. He tried to block her every way he could. So the last time he was in Paris, at that point, he hadn't even been seeing her. He wasn't seeing her. And that's when Mercy happened to find the emails from a couple of months ago. And then he further explained that, and then when I get home, I'm locked out of our home. Mercy wants nothing to do with me. She's not talking to me. She's not anything me. So how am I supposed to feel, Doc? What am I supposed to think? Dr. Keji stops the conversation there and she says, and this is exactly why Mercy and Michael, I didn't want us to go down this road. I don't want us to keep rehashing this very thing that's going to cause more turmoil and more pain. Because this is a story we've spoken about. We've spoken about this. We've been speaking about it for 6 months. And that's why I'm asking you both, where to from here? Where to from here? Mercy's looking down in her lap, shaking her head. She's still stuck on what Michael was saying. She's very irritated by what Michael was saying. She feels like now this guy's actively trying to excuse and make up reasons for his infidelity. Michael's looking at the floor. He's feeling ashamed because he's had to, again, relay verbally out loud that, yes, I was unfaithful. I betrayed my partner's trust. I gave away our intimacy. I gave away something that we both held very near and dear, that was very sacred to Mercy. This was something she was clear she would hold off on for her husband. And they did. They did wait before they got physical. They waited until they got married. And so saying all of this out loud puts him in this very difficult, uncomfortable position because it means admitting that he did some things he was not supposed to be doing. He did them. And even when he had the opportunity to bring everything to a standstill, to stop what was going on before it got physical, because the cheating had already started. It was very emotional. But before it got physical and complicated things even more, he should have stopped it and walked away. But he didn't. Not only did he not do that, he made it a point that when he went back to Paris, he invited Marie out. Having to relay this story further reiterates the fact that Michael was a very active participant in this cheat, in this infidelity, in this affair. Dr. Keji says, Mercy, again, where to from here? And she reiterates, I'm tired. I'm so tired, Doc. I'm so tired. And Dr. Keji says, I know. This is part of marriage. And I want you guys to understand this now. You're not the only couple, and this is not about comparison. I want to offer you some sort of comfort. You're not the only partners. You're not the only couple, that have or are going through something difficult. Every marriage comes with its trials and tribulations. That's part of the reason why the pastor lets you know, the priest will let you know on the day or prior to you getting married, the pre-counseling, and even on the day, that times are going to get tough, for better or for worse. There is a worse. That's why they mention it. There is a worse. So you guys, you guys haven't done anything. Yes, Michael has done what he's done, but there's a worse. For almost every couple, there is a worse. And so she's sitting there waiting for that answer. Where to from here? Where to from here? And Mercy is thinking, and Mercy says, well, I want to have a conversation with Marie. Michael's already like, no. What's the reason? What's the reason you want to have a conversation with Marie? And she says, I want to make sure that everything Michael has said has happened is exactly, number one, what happened. Number two, I want to understand how. How could all of this happen? Why would she feel so comfortable coming in between? Like, spiritually, does she understand the implications of what she has done? Because I know Michael understands it. Him and I have been going to church together, but does she? I want to look at her and make her understand that as a woman, and this isn't about blaming her. I'm not mad at her. This is about my husband. I'm mad at him. But I want her to understand that one day you're going to be a wife. And I want you to understand from a woman's perspective, from a wife's perspective, what you have done. I want to have that conversation with Marie. That's what she says. And Michael's not having it. And Dr. Ikeji is just looking like, oh goodness. But she's not saying anything. She's there to listen and to help them work through this. She's listening. And Mercy goes on to explain and say, I mean, he sat here talking about how he's this white man who came here, living in Abuja. He came and he married me as a strong black woman. I get that part. But you must understand something. Prior to me, Michael had never dated black women. He's only ever been with white women. So all of this, it's just not sitting well with me. It's beyond, it's deeper than the infidelity. It's the fact that not only did he make a decision to cheat, he's gone back to cheat with a white woman. So how is that, how do I compete? How am I to feel? I feel like some experience that has just gone too far. And if that's the case, why did he marry me? Why didn't he leave me to these Nigerian men that he complains about? To these Nigerian men that make him feel so insecure? Because he brings that up a lot. He brings up the fact that these Nigerian men are always looking at me. These this, these that. I'm a beautiful woman and these men are always looking at me, and it intimidates him and it makes him feel insecure. So why did he not leave me to those men? Why didn't he just marry a white woman?